class right here, right? All you have is 3 instead of 1. Does that make sense to everybody? So we're trying to give you the opportunity of having more certificates when you graduate to help you out and streamline it. Plus, you don't have to declare your major until you take some of these classes and decide which one do I really want to be into. So you don't have to decide. But a lot of students will do doubles. Not too many of them are going to do all 3 of them, but you can see with an additional 3 or 4 classes, you can get 2 certificates. Does that make sense to you? So that's how our program is set right now. So you came in at a great time because all these classes are taught now. But the nice thing is when you go to Weber State, if you decide to, then it's, you know, right now, every student that goes over there, I have to sit down with the advisor, academic advisor over there, and we have to say, yeah, this is approved for this, and this, you know, but this will be automatic for students when they go over now. Okay? Okay, so I'll get you a copy of this too. Okay, I just want to clean it up a little bit for you and maybe add a couple more notes to it. So when I get that, I'll get you a copy. So when you start registering for spring semester, then you want to register with this in mind here and go from there. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay, the other day we talked a little bit about our template. Okay? Now, does everyone have your template? We said we'd go back over the template, didn't we? I think that's what we said, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the template and go in and we're going to set up all of our variables again, just so everyone has a fresh start on it. If you are not here on Wednesday, if you'll work with the person next to you so we might be able to move a little quicker to get going on our drawing, and then we'll do the dovetail slide. Now, those in 1010 this morning, we actually modeled the dovetail slide up. Might be a little boring for you, but we modeled it up in Inventor. Now we have to draw this 2D, plain old 2D. Okay? So, let me start up AutoCAD here so we can get going here. So, let me close this out here. AutoCAD 2000. Okay. Okay. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do to start a template file is we're going to go find our template. Now, if you have your template file, this will be a review. If not, bring it up. So the template file is we're going to go to the big A right there and hit open right there. Okay? Right here. Open. Come on here. Now let's hit new. We'll go to new. Okay. And then if we go down to, we want to have this as DWT right here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to CAD Common. Remember, CAD Common is where all of our files will be, right? CAD Common, EDDT, 1200, and then B size right there, and hit open. So that is our template file that we're going to be working with in this class right there. Okay? CAD Common there, EDDT, and then 1200. And then B size, and then open. There you go. So that's our main template file. Okay. So now, what happened in this is that if you look down here at the very bottom, right here you have model and 11 by 17. Does everyone see that right there? Okay. Go to the model tab right there. You see this drawing in here, correct? Let's get rid of that drawing. So all you have to do to erase it is hit E, enter, and then build a window around it and hit enter. And you've got a clean slate to start with. Just E, enter, build a window around it. Yep. Click there, click. Now hit enter. There you go. Okay, now pick a point to release. You go down here. No, pick a point, release, don't drag it. Pick a point, come down here, click a point, enter. There you go. Yeah, if you hold your mouse down, you get some squirrely shape down there, okay? Pick and release. We there? Okay, so 1200, but you want to be in DWT, so. Okay, now you go back into and find CAD Commons, DWT, 1200, B size. And hit yes, right there. Now, come over here to this tab here. Now, E, enter for erase. E, enter. Now, pick a point here, release. That comes down here. Pick a point, now hit enter. You just erased it. Okay. Okay, so does everyone have your template and you've erased that drawing that was on it? We good? Okay. So now this is your template file that you can start every drawing with in here. And we will print this out once we do our first drawing together. So you'll learn how to print through the day. Okay, so a couple of things. You see your grid right here. And we see your grid. I'm just going to turn these lights off. You can kind of see the grid right here. That is your limits. That represents your paper size. So in paper size, I don't know, do any of you know how paper sizes are figured? In drafting, we have an A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and it can go on and on and on, all these different paper sizes, okay? Now, we can do metric and English. I'm just going to do the English one right now. But an A size, basically, that's an A size piece of paper right there. What's the size of this paper? 8.5 by 11, right? It's an A size, just a regular paper. So an A paper is 8.5 by 11, okay? Now, a B size paper then is 11 by 17. How did I get 17? I doubled 8.5, right? So, what do you think a C size would be then? What about a D? What about an E? What's that now? And then an F would be 44 by 68, right? And you can keep on going. You see how I'm doing that? So if I had a D size sheet of paper right here, so a D size then would be 22 by 34. Okay? Now, if I cut this in half, I would have an 11 by 22, but if I cut that in half again, this is 11 by 17, right? So how many sheets of B can I get out of one D? 4. Now, if I have one B, how many pieces of A can I get out of one B? With 0 waste, right? That's how paper sizes are calculated and figured right there. Okay, so when we draw, a lot of times we'll draw with limits set up. So we can set our limits for a B by that size right there. And that's how big those grid dots are. That makes sense to everybody?
Mike?
Yes.
I imagine Europeans, they don't have a special drafting
They do.
Paper sizes.
They do.
They stick with A2, B3. And
Right, but all those have a size that calculates into being able to cut X number of pieces out of a larger sheet.
Oh, well, that's the way the metric paper works for everything.
Yeah.
You know, they always, the next size is the double of the previous size.
Exactly.
And so that's what I'm saying is that, you know, because in the US, we don't say A size letter, we say letter.
Right. But once you get in here, you know, I mean, I always talk about a C size sheet of paper, or a D size.
So that's what I'm saying is that in drafting, there is a, what's the word, nomenclature. Nomenclature?
Numerical?
No, nomenclature.
Nomenclature, yeah.
Yeah, nomenclature. There we go. Sorry, guys, I'm a foreigner.
Okay, so now, to set our limits up, what is the command to change our limits? What's the command name to set our limits in AutoCAD? Limits. Pretty tough, isn't it? Everything is just like what you would taught. Now, when we set our limits up now, in AutoCAD, yeah. So, if I want to set my limits up for an 11 by 17, where do I want my origin to be in 2D? Do I want it to be here, 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 or here? The bottom left, right there. Why? Exactly the reason why. Everyone's used to the XY coordinate. This is the X, this is the Y. This is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. In quadrant 1, X and Y are always positive, right? So you don't want to have to work with negative numbers, do you? Make it easy on you. So when it asks you for the bottom right, bottom left origin, it's going to be looking for that point. It's going to ask you for the top right. What are the coordinates for this point right here?
0, 0.
0, 0, right? That makes sense to everybody? What are the coordinates for this point here?
11, 17.
Now, if this is 11, 17 here, what's going to happen to my layout if my limits when I type in this? What value is it looking for first? My X value. You said 11, so 11 by 17 is going to be like that. Does that make sense? So you got to be careful with that. So always type in your X value first. And if you have a B-size sheet of paper, let's see, I know I've got one here somewhere. So if you have a B-size sheet of paper right here, you'd want to be drawn basically like that, not like that, right? So you better type in 17 first, then 11. 17, 11. Does that make sense to everybody now? As you go from there. Okay, so let's go ahead and check our limits first of all, just so everyone has that, you know, feel for it. So just type in limits. Now, question for you. What's it asking me for down here?
Reset.
Lower left.
The lower left corner. Now, see where it says 0, 0 right here? It's already got that in there. You don't have to retype in 0, 0. So once, if it's right in parentheses, just hit enter. Now, what's my upper limit supposed to be? 17, 11, right? Is that what's in yours? See, if I do this also, so if I go 11, 17, whoops, not 111. So okay? Are you with me there? So we want our upper right to be our X value and then our Y value. Okay? So, now, can you type limits or do you have to type limits? Doesn't matter. Either one will accept it. Okay? Okay, so enter, I want this to be 17, comma 11. See how I switched it back to what I want? Now, how many of you, do any of you have grids going out, filling your screen all the way here? Does anyone have that? If you do, this is how what happens. Down here at the very bottom, see where it says model right here? See where I'm pointing right down here at the bottom? Right next to it is your grid display. Right next to that is the snap display. If you right-click on either one of these and go to settings, you'll get this box right here. Either one, just right-click and go to settings, grid settings or snap settings, you'll get the same box here. This box right here in the grid behavior, display grid beyond limits. If you check that right there and hit OK, now your grid goes out and fills all the universe on both sides. Does that make sense to everybody? But that's kind of hard to see. Well, how far do can I come over, and how far does that equal my sheet, my title block? Does that make sense? So you kind of want to turn that off. So again, right-click, grid settings, uncheck that box, and hit OK. And now see, that represents your paper size you're going to be working with. So it gives you kind of an idea of how much space you have to work with. Does that make sense now? So that's how we use our limits right there. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go set up our layers. We're going to talk about layers again. Remember we did that the other day? We set up 4 layers, didn't we? An object layer, a hidden layer, a centerline layer, and a dimension layer, right? And we gave the dimension layer a line type of 0.25, a center is 0.25, a hidden is 0.4, and an object is 0.5, right? Those are the layers, line weights we set them up at. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set those up now again. Okay, so to do our layers, what's the command for layers now? Layer. How's that? L-A-Y-E-R, enter. And it brings up this window right here. Okay, now I'm going to hurry and delete some here. Let's see here. I can't delete this one here, but I can delete this one here. You cannot, there's certain layers you cannot delete. One is depth points. That's not a possibility of deleting. And your viewports, you cannot delete those two. A lot of times 0 is the default one, you can't delete it also. And you want a text layer open. So basically those are the ones that you have to have open. But I would recommend most of the time never, ever, ever using them. Use your own layers you set up. Does that make sense? So we're going to set up those 4 layers now. And again, you can have them any colors you want. All I want you to do is have the right line types in there and the line weights. And I'll show you how to set those up. And then we'll get going on our the dovetail slide. Okay? Okay, so these 4 little boxes right here, the very first one is new layer. The second one is a frozen viewports. This is delete layer, and that's make it current. To create a new layer, we just go to new layer right there. So click on that first little icon right there, and it creates a whole new line across here that we can fill in. Let's call this first one Object. I like to have everything capitalized if I can. So the first one's going to be Object. Now, you can change the color for it. Let's change what color do you want it to be. So you hit the color on the object line, and I'm going to make mine
Green is usually what we do.
okay. I'll do mine green for object. Okay, so my object layer is green under color. Does that make sense? The line type I want it to be continuous, and the line weight I want it to be 0.5. Does that make sense? So if you click that, make it 0.5 right there. That's your first layer. That's as hard as layers are to create. Now we will periodically create a new layer or a new type of drawing. So what you'll have to do is go back into your template file, create that, save it off on your template file so you'll never have to create it again after that. Okay? So let's create a new layer. So that's one of our four. So go to the first icon, and again, here's another layer. Let's call it Hidden. Okay? Color. I'm going to make mine this
Yellow,
magenta.
magenta.
Yeah, I'll make mine magenta, this one here. Okay? The hidden line, the line type, now it can't be continuous, so click on where it says continuous right here, and I'm going to pretend that I don't have the right line type here, so hit load. Scroll down to the H's. We have 3 H's, right? 3 hidden. Hidden, hidden 2, hidden times 2. The one that you want just hit reload if you're working on your same template. So there it is right there. Does that make sense to everybody? And then click on it and hit OK. So we just changed our line type to a hidden 2. Now the line weight for a hidden line is 0.4. So click on 0.4. So we just changed it to 0.4. So that's your second layer. Okay? Now we're going to do your third and fourth layer because they're both 0.25. Okay? So let's add us a new layer. Let's call it Center. I'm going to go center with yellow. I'm going to go red.
Mike, don't do text. Text is red already, so on the
Okay, we'll use cyan then.
Yeah. Sorry, but
Yeah,
just
and I'll show you why in a few minutes. Hopefully we'll get into it on this one. Hit OK. And the line weight now is 0.25. So we have center, the color. Now you can have it you do not have to have it my same colors. Does that make sense? Any color you want, you can have it. So cyan, the line type, continuous, and the line weight. Correct. Your
Right.
color can be anything.
because when we print, I mean, it's black and white printers, the color
Yes.
doesn't matter.
That's what all this color is to help you visualize to see what line, if you're on the right layer.
Right.
That's all that is. That's all it is. Okay, so let's add us another layer, and let's call it our dimension layer. Okay, I'm going to make my dimension layer yellow. It's a continuous line type, and the line weight is 0.25, and you shouldn't have to change that because it takes the characteristics of the preceding one and updates the characteristics. Those are the 4 new layers that you should have right there. Okay? Okay, so hit the X mark, X to close it out right there. Okay? Let's do one more thing before we start our drawing, and then we'll show you how to do the drawing here. See where it says annotation right here? Let's hit annotation. Go down to the second window down right here where it says dimension style. Remember, the first is text style, dimension style, multi-leader style, and table style. We want the second one down, dimension style. You click that, you get this window right here. Okay? Hit modify. Okay, so all we're going to do is change a couple of these settings now. Not all of them. We're just going to change a couple of them right now. The only thing I want you to change in this whole thing is that number right there to 0.125 to 1/8 of an inch right there. That's all you have to change in that first tab right there. That number right there to 0.125. Go to symbols and arrows. All I want you to do here now is on center mark right here, I want you to click on none. And see what none does. See that mark right there? If I hit none, what does it do? Takes it away, doesn't it? And then the only thing I want arrows right now. Now go to text. The only thing I want you to do is to change that number right there to 0.125. That's all you have to do in this whole window right here. Go to fit. All I want you to do here is check on the arrow circle right there. That's it. That's all you have to do. Leave the others alone for now. Okay? Right? So, do you see where it says precision right here? What should we change our precision to? 2, right there. That makes sense? And let's do one more thing. See where it says zero suppression? Click on the leading right there. So we changed our precision to 2, and we just checked that box. It's all we did in this whole window here. And that's all you need to know to get going, because alternate units right here and tolerances we're going to work with later. Okay? So, hit OK, and set current, and close. Okay, we're ready to draw now. That's all there is to it. Okay? But the number one thing you want to do is to save your template off. Okay? Because again, this is the template file that you're going to be starting every new drawing with. And you don't want to go through this every single time and go through all those settings, do you? So save it off somewhere with some name that you will not forget. And I would make multiple copies of it. But the problem is, if you make multiple copies, and if we go and add something to your template file, what do you have to do? You have to add it to all the copies, don't you? So you got to be careful there. Otherwise, you're going to open up the wrong template file and you're going to say, I added that, but you added it to the wrong template file you didn't open up. Are you with me there? So if you do it in multiple places, you've got to make sure you've got to get it from all the places. Okay? So, File, Save As, and I'm just going to call mine here, Desktop, and you want to save it as a DWT file, make sure. Okay, and I've already got mine saved. Okay, so once you save it now, let's open it up. Open, make sure DWT, and go find your file now. And open it up. Even though it said it was, right locked, once you save it and give it a new name, you can use it just like any file you've ever used in your life. Okay? We good on that? So our template file is open now, right? We're going to do the dovetail slide. So I want to save this out now as a DWG file, right? Again, you open your template file first. Immediately you save it as a drawing file, a DWG file, because you do not want to be drawing in your template file. Is everyone with me on that concept? Do not draw in your template file. Make sure it's a .dwg file that you draw in. Okay? So, I'm just going to go to the big A right here, hit Save As, change the files of type here to DWG, and I'm going to save on my desktop, and then give it a name, and I'm just going to call it Dovetail. You do not have to put the .dwg in. It will automatically append that extension to your file name. Okay? We good with that? Here, this will tell you the file that you're working with right there at the top. Everybody got that okay? Okay, let's get going with the dovetail slide. Okay, now, everyone sees your template. The very first thing we want to do now is we want to draw a rectangle in our gridded area. Question?
I'll just see if I can put some paper around.
Oh,
Up here.
right here.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Who does not have a dovetail slide? Okay, 2, 3. Here's 3 here. Got one there, and I'll go make some more copies for the rest, okay?
So like when you just sort of like a spot, but the shade at the you're like open it has.
Okay, who needs one now?
Yes, that one.
Okay, anybody else? I think there's two there. Okay. Okay, so again, we're going to draw the dovetail slide. What's the height of my dovetail slide?
2.25.
What's the width of it? What's the width of it?
4.5.
4.5. What's the depth of it?
I'll let somebody else answer.
2.31, right? Okay, so what we're going to do now is we have to do it slightly different. We okay there? Okay, so with this screen right here, again, the grid right here represents my drawing area. I do not want to draw my rectangle outside of that grid. Are you with me? But I don't want to draw it too small either, so I want to draw it about as large as I can get in there. So I want everyone to, first of all, go to rectangle. See where it's that rectangle right there? Right under the annotate, right there. Click on that rectangle. Come over here, pick a point somewhere near the top and somewhere near the bottom. Now, question for everybody. What layer am I drawing on right now? My text layer. What layer do you think I should be drawing on? Object layer. So let's change it to object layer, then we're going to change this existing rectangle to our object layer. So to change it to object layer, a couple of things that we can do. Let's just do it one way. Type in layer. Click on object right here. Which one of these icons do I want to pick now? The last one, set current. See, it changed that to object right there, didn't it? So now everything that I draw new will be on my object layer. But my existing line is on the text layer. So let's switch this rectangle to the object layer. All you have to do that is click on the rectangle. Just click on it, then right click, and go down to properties right here. Second one up from the bottom, properties. And then see where it says layer right there? Click in this box here, and we want to change it to object. Okay? Now, how many of you have a big, fat, ugly line there? Good. That'd drive you crazy drawing with that line, wouldn't it? Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it off. But guess what? If I go ahead and draw another file and open up my template and save it, guess what's going to happen every time I draw a line? It's going to be a fat, ugly line, isn't it? So how would I fix that?
You can update the template.
You need to update your template if you don't want to change it every time. But we aren't going to go back and do that right now. I'm just going to show you how to change it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You want your template as clean as you possibly can so everything is set for you, ready to go to work. And you aren't going back and making little tweaks on your drawing to start drawing. So if you want something added in there, add it in. Okay? But let me show you how to turn this off. Okay, first of all, see these icons on the bottom right-hand side across here? You can customize this area to anything you want it to be. Okay? To customize it, where's the customization button? The very furthest to the bottom right as you can go says customization. On your screen. The ones without the check marks are not visible to you right now, but you can add them to your template file. Does that make sense? Now, if you want to take something away, take it away. If you want to add it, add it. The one that you want to do for line weight is, do you see where it says line weight right here? If that is not checked, you want to check it. Okay? And then click it. This one right here is show line weight. Do you see that one that I'm pointing to? It has 3 little horizontal bars, 2 of them with a fat little line segment on it. Does that make sense? So if I do that and turn that off, now I have a thin single line. That's how you go from a fat to a skinny line. Okay? Now, can you start to feel the importance of that template file? It's a time saver, isn't it? To open things up and have all things ready to go so you can just start working. Okay? Now,
Mike, is there a situation that a particular employer, or what's the word, contract, I mean, whatever, organization, that they have their set of preferences?
You bet.
I mean, like these
almost every company.
these preferences that we're setting up.
Right.
What are these preferences?
They're just standard basic things.
Basic ones.
Once you get into a company, they're going to have volumes about how they want this set up. It might be different from what we do. There are no 2 companies 100% alike out there. And who sets these up? Individuals like you when you get a job out there and say, this is how I want it done. And it'll change, you know, if you can justify it. So every company has their own drafting standards. All I'm doing is teaching you a very, very, very basic setup. But realize that you will probably change it once you get working for a company. You do what they say to do when you get out there, but you know how to do it. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Another stupid question is, how come AutoCAD doesn't have them this way by default?
Because everyone's different, and some people don't want it, and some do.
But is there a place where the default AutoCAD settings are the norm?
No, because it's just a default raw setting is all. That's all that comes in. Because they want you to be able to set it up and customize it how you want it. Okay? Okay, now, number one thing, if I hover my cursor around that line, the whole thing highlights as one entity. Does that make sense? So I want to break that into 4 different entities. So the command to do that is, so far we've talked about the rectangle command, right? Now I'm going to talk about the explode command right here. So I can pick the explode here. How else could I pick explode? Start typing. E. What's it asking me for right now? Select object. I'm going to come up and I'm going to pick an object. Click it and hit enter. Now, question for everybody. How many entity elements is this rectangle now made up of? 4 separate ones. I exploded the rectangle into 4 individual lines, haven't I? So if I offset one line a different angle, distance, the offset command right here. This is the offset command. How's the other way of getting to the offset command? Start typing offset, right? And if I type O, guess what? It until you know, you can kind of, there's a lot of O's in there, wasn't there? Just type in the next letter of the command. That makes sense? And there's offset right there. Now, the offset command, how do you use the offset? What's it asking me for? Give me a distance. How wide is our object? It's 4.5. So if I want to offset this line here to get how wide my front view and top view are, I'm going to type in 4.5. Now, how do I go to the next part of the command? Hit enter. Now what does it ask me for? Select object to offset. I want to offset this line here from my front view. Now, what's it asking me for now?
Which way?
Which way do you want to go? Now, you can come clear out here, come clear over to here. You can be up here. You see what I'm saying? Don't try to be exact. Just click out there anywhere you want it to be. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, question for you. It's asking me to offset another line, right? What's my offset distance so at? 4.5. I want it to be at a different distance, right? So how do I change that distance without re-entering my whole command? Hit the space bar twice, and it'll ask you for a new offset distance. What's my height now? 2.25, my height. My depth is 2.31. My height is 2.25, right? 2.25. And then I'm going to offset this line here and come up. Spacebar twice. 2.31, enter. I'm going to offset this line here and come in, and the top line and come down right there. So I have those offsets. This is how you will do every single drawing in AutoCAD. So 4.5, enter. Pick that line there. Click there. Click space, space. 2.5. Enter. Hit this bottom line. Come up here, click. Space, space. 2.31. Enter. Take this line here. Come in here, click there. Click this line here. Come down here, click. You got it. So what we're doing is we're getting that from that number there, that number, and that number. Okay? So every drawing we do, this is how you're going to be doing it. Pretty easy to lay your boxes out, right? When you get into modeling, then all we do is we start with a 3D cube, right? To start whittling away with. But here we have to start out with our boxes, our views. Okay? So now what we want to do is to clean them up so that all we have is this box here, that box, this box here, and that box there. Those 4 boxes. And eventually I'll show you why you want that 4th box. Okay? So to do that now, you type in T, we want trim. So what's the shortcut for trim? TR. Hit enter, or you could hit trim up here if you wanted to. Does that make sense? Now, with the trim command, it's going to ask you, where do you want your trim lines to be? I'm just going to pick a window around everything, and it's going to create every single line as a trim line for me. Now, there are other ways of doing it, so you don't have to do it this way, and I will show you other shortcuts for trim later on, but I want you to understand the basics of the trim command. Okay? Hit enter. So I picked them all, hit enter. Now what's it asking me for? Select objects to trim.
One question is going back there, Mike. When you offset the top and the right line, that distance was the
2.31.
Okay, so the depth.
So if you look at an object here, let's say this is the object we're looking at. So this is the right side view, that's the top view. That's the depth. What's the depth of the top view? The same, right there.
Oh,
So the front view and the right side view are the same height, right? The front view and the top view are the same width, right? The right side and the top are the same depth.
gotcha.
Okay, does that make sense? Everybody? Okay, now, to me, it would be a question.
It's just not trimming.
Okay, so type in TR for hit escape. Okay, TR, enter. Pick a window around everything again. Now hit enter, and then start pick. You have to hit enter to go to the next part of this command because it's asking you to pick all those grid lines.
Gotcha.
When you do it, you hit enter, and then you trim. Okay? Now, to me, it's easier if I get those views moved together so I can zoom up and everything I can draw things with a bigger view instead of having them spread apart and have my view so small if I want to see everything. Does that make sense? So I'm going to bring them all together now so I can get a bigger view of all my views. Once I draw them, I can spread them back apart to dimension them. Does that make sense? So, what's the command for moving them? Move. So M is a shortcut for move, right? Hit enter. I'm going to pick a window around these two right here. Hit enter. Pick a point. Now, what's wrong with me right now?
You're gonna misalign them.
Misalign them. How do I get them to be aligned?
Turn on your ortho.
Ortho, which is
F8.
F8. Very good. See F8? I cannot get those out of a line now, can I? So move those here, space bar, pick the top two, and move them down. And now you can actually see all your views in a larger box to start drawing your features. Okay? Now, this setup is exactly how you'll do every single drawing you ever do. Draw your rectangle, explode it, offset it, trim them, move them in. Does that make sense? So you get very, very used to that. And if you don't do that, some students come in and start drawing the ordinate system. To draw this, they would start out at 0, 0, draw a line at this length, angle, draw a line at this length and angle, draw a line here at this length and angle, draw a line at this length and angle. They've done 4 commands basically, they got 1 box. Then they have to move and draw the right side view. Same thing. Making sure they start on the same plane going across it. So what you do is easier this way. Just draw your rectangle to begin with, explode it, and start offsetting. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, now, features. How many features does this part have? How many?
Many.
4. 4. The 2 chamfers are 1, we'll count them, 2 chamfers is 1 feature. Okay, so there's 4 different features. Now, most students, a lot of students actually, do not listen to this point. When you draw a feature, you draw that feature in all 3 views before you move on to the next feature. You understand that concept? Do not try to draw 2 features together thinking it's going to save time. It will not in the long run. Draw 1 feature at a time. And what you want to do is you want to think, how are you going to make this part? Now looking at that dovetail slide, if you were cutting this out, what's the first thing you would do to make that dovetail slide, you think? You'd cut that big slot coming across the front right there, wouldn't you? That make sense? You'd make it into kind of an L shape, right? That's the number one, that's our first feature. Now question, what view shows that feature true size and shape? The right side view, correct? So what view am I going to draw? I'll go to my next feature, and I'll figure what view shows a true size and shape projected to the other two views, and so forth. Okay? So a right side view. So, question now. This L comes down around here, kind of like this, right here, doesn't it? How wide is this part of it here coming up? So how am I going to get that 0.62 distance over here?
Offset.
Offset this line here, 0.62, right? So go to offset. What's my distance going to be? 0.62. Enter. I want to offset this line here, 0.62, just like that, right? Now, how far does this line here come up from here? 1 inch. Space bar twice, type in 1, hit enter. I'm going to come from here up to here, right? Now, what do I need to do right now? Clean that feature up so I can see what it is. Okay, so how am I going to do that? Okay. Do you want me to show you another little shortcut?
Yeah.
Let's use the fillet command. Okay? Now think about it. Now, I talked about the fillet, chamfer, and radius the other day, didn't I? Or did I, guys? How many of you know the difference between a fillet, a chamfer, and a round? Okay. We have a chamfer, a fillet, and a round. Okay? All three are depicted right there. What do you think this one is right here? A chamfer. What differentiates a chamfer from a fillet or a round? It's a line, right? What angle does that line have to be at? Any line, any angle you want it. What's the most common chamfer angle though? 45, right? Okay, so we got a chamfer right here. Now, these two look like about the same, but what's the difference between them? The way they're going. One's an inside, one's an outside, right? What would you say this one would be, a fillet or a round? Round. So by default, what's this one? Fillet. That makes sense? So we have a chamfer, a fillet, and a round. Okay? That makes sense? Now, with a fillet and a round, you have to give it a radius, don't you? So if I wanted this to come to an exact line right here, what would my radius be set at? 0. 0. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? And let me show you how that works. And, you know, if you don't want like this command, you don't have to use it like this. It really was never intended to be used this way, but it works, and it's a time saver. Okay? So, cut for fillet command is. Start typing it, fillet. So what's the shortcut for fillet? Yeah, right? Just plain old F, right? So hit enter. Now right now, what is my radius set at? 1. Now, to change your radius, radius to be 0. Hit enter. Okay? Now, all you have to do is watch this. I want to trim from, I'll fill it from there to there, there to there, and there to there. Look how easy it was to clean up using a fillet with the radius of 0. Now, you could have used the trim command there, couldn't you? I'm not telling you you can't use the trim command, but if you think the fillet command with the radius of 0 is quicker, use it. If you don't think it's quicker, don't use it. Just because you don't use the command like I use it, doesn't mean it's wrong. Okay? Are you with me? As long as you get the end result, I don't care how you get there, is what it boils down to. Okay? So, question for you now, when I go to dimension this feature, what view am I going to dimension my feature in? That feature I just made. Hold, be careful now. What view shows it? Oh, well, let's finish drawing. I'm sorry, let's finish drawing it. Let's finish drawing it. In the front view now, this is going to look like, and then I can trim here. I can pick these 2 end lines here and get rid of that and that. That's what the front view is going to look like right here, isn't it? Now, let me show you how to use that 4th box. How many of you, when you were in high school, used that 4th box? Okay, good. Remember, this is orthographic projection, right? That means I should be able to project at angles, right angles, correct? Okay, now, this distance right here is the same as that distance right here, correct? So what shape is that box right there, that box in the first quadrant? What's the shape of that box? It's a what? It's an exact what? Square. Does that make sense? So, if I were to draw me a line from this point up to this point right here, okay? Now, up to now, we projected this straight across right right? How do I get from here up to here, though? I could draw a line from here up to here, and where it crosses, I could project it over right there. I just projected it from my right side to my top view by going up to that 45 diagonal line. I didn't have to make another measurement on my top view. I used my initial drawing where my features showed true size and shape and just projected it around. Okay, does that make sense? That's why you want to keep that box. And the box is automatically there when you do the trim command at first, isn't it? Okay. Now draw a line from here to here now. So L enter, point there, go to there, enter. Now, space bar. Now, draw a line from here, come over to here, sit there, space bar. Now, TR for trim, enter. Take this line here, and this line here was your trim line. Enter, Now pick here and there. Spacebar. Now hit L, enter for line. Enter. Draw a line from here up. Just either one. Now TR for trim. Enter. Pick this line here. And this line here. Enter. Now click there. And there. Enter or space bar. Now hit E for erase. Enter. Now pick this line here. Enter. See how you clean that up? So those are the steps that you want to go through every single time, just like that. Okay, go high if you ready to snap on it. So just go up, space, space, and put this one here. Okay? Now, the point was made like this. If I drew me a line now from here and went up to here, what's going to happen right there? It's going to snap it to that end point. But does it matter the length of that line? It doesn't. Get it up so you don't have to mess with that. So just go up here, space, space, and then come back here and get it over. Does that make sense? Can you see how your speed can be improved greatly if you just do these few little basic steps here? Okay, so now I'm going to trim, and I can actually pick them both like that. Now, you see what I just did? Before we did the trim command, and I had to pick each individual line, right? Let me show you a little shortcut for that. So, TR for trim, enter. If I go from here, build a window, it picked them both just that fast. That's my trim lines, right? Then I hit enter, and then I can trim out what I want right there. And then this is erasing this line here. Okay, that makes sense? That's my first feature in all three views, isn't it? Now, again, what view shows that feature true size and shape? The front, the top, or the right side view? Right side view. So where do my dimensions go? In the right side view. And what dimensions do I need? I need this dimension here and this dimension here, don't I? That's how I built the part, isn't it? So you dimension it the way you built the part. That's why dimensioning is so simple if you get this concept down. Students usually hate to dimension because they think it's so hard. But isn't this easy? You just got finished drawing it. All we're doing is taking what you offset now and dimensioning it that way on your drawing. That's all we're doing. Okay? Now, feature number 2. Let's do our chamfers. Okay? What's the size of my chamfers? 0.75, and what's the angle? So what's the other distance? If this is 0.75, then what's this distance coming down? 0.75. So I can either do it, there's two ways to draw a chamfer now. Well, let's draw it this way. I could dimension if I know that dimension and that dimension, I could do it that way, couldn't I? One way. What if I know this dimension and if I know that angle? Could I do it that way also? I could, couldn't I? Those are the two different ways to draw a chamfer. And guess how the two different ways to draw a chamfer are in Inventor too? Same way. In SolidWorks, the same way. Once you understand this concept, it's the same. It goes across all those boundaries. Okay? So, what do you think the command is to draw a chamfer? Chamfer. How are we going to find our shortcut? Besides clicking it up here. C, I don't see it, so CH. Chamfer, what's the shortcut for chamfer actually? CHA. You see what I'm trying to say is why have a textbook if you've got it all online here? What happens if I want to see how to use that command? How do I get that help? What is that? What does it say at the very bottom of that command? Press what for more help? F1. There's your page on how to use the chamfer command. Are you with me? So why have a big book? You have to go through an index when you just used F1, and there's that page for you automatically right there. Okay? So, okay, so let's type in CHA, or under fillet right here, there's chamfer command, under the fillet command. Okay? Now, see down here at the bottom, these things that are grayed out, you have undo, polyline, distance, angle, trim, method, multiple. The two types that we're going to be concerned in this class are distance and angle. Distance is like that first one where I have the X and the X. That's the distance. The angle is the distance and the angle. Does that make sense? So I could use either one of these commands, but how do I activate which one I want to use? What am I going to type in right now? What's the highlighted letter? A or D. A is going to give me the angle command. D is going to give me the distance command. Does that make sense? So which one did we want to use? Okay, let's go with angle. Right there. Or you just click it in right there. What's it asking me for right here?
Let's put chamfer length on the first line.
What's the chamfer length? 0.75. So type in 0.75.
Select first line.
What's it asking me to do now? Select what?
Second line.
Second line. There's your chamfer. That's how hard chamfers are. Now, if I want to draw a chamfer on the other side, how do you think I'm going to do it? Hit the space bar. And guess what? My chamfer length is all set, my angle set, so I just have to pick that line and that line. And there's my chamfer. That make sense to you? Now, this is showing my chamfer true size and shape, isn't it? So what view am I going to dimension this in? The front view. But I need to finish drawing the chamfer in the other two views right now because I've only drawn it in one view, right? So how do I do that? Project these points here over to here, and these points here up to here like this right here, right? And then I have some trimming to do, right? So I could pick here to here. There's my right side view. Okay, is that right?
Almost.
What's wrong with it? What?
The chamfer is only on the top part.
It's only on the top part. There's your chamfer right there. Now, the reason it's so critical to dimension in the view could that be like, okay, that chamfer now could either look like this, it could look like this, couldn't it? We don't know, right?
It could go straight down behind the flat part.
Exactly, it could. Couldn't it? We don't know, that's why we dimension. Okay, next feature is let's do the dovetail, this little dovetail right here. What view am I going to draw it in, the front, the top, or the right side view? Front view right here. So first of all, how high is it? So let's offset 0.5. So let's offset 1 inch. So from this point, it comes back here to 60 degree, right? And here, right? Does that make sense? Okay, what I'm going to show you now, and I always call this the at command, just the at command. So if you hear me say use the at command, this is what I want you to use. The at command is this. Line comes from here back to here to here. Do I have to figure that exact length of that line right there? Or can I draw that line so it goes clear up there and then trim it?
You could,
Which one's going to be quicker for you?
trimming it.
Trimming it.
Also, left hand of meaning.
The what?
Probably left hand symbol.
You bet it does. It gets you to the next box.
So 15 degrees doesn't have to be less than the length of the line.
No, it's that whole degree is a separate entity of that. That separates it just,
That's what I mean by the left hand doesn't mean left hand.
it separates this from here. That's how you get over there, right? Okay, so now, question for you. In the book, it tells you this is 60 right here, right? Is that what it tells you? Okay, question for you though. You found this point right here, right?
Yep.
So, if you drew a line right here now, in AutoCAD, all your angles are 0, 90, 180, and 270. If I typed in 60, I'd have a line here, wouldn't I?
Yep.
So, what's my angle?
120.
Okay? Now think about it. If this is 60, what's that angle there?
60.
60. They're all in the interior angles, right? So if this is 60, what's this angle from here to here then?
180 minus 60.
Exactly, 120, right? That makes sense to everybody? That's how you have to figure your angles. Now, we're going to do an assignment that's made up strictly of angles like this, having to figure angles. And it really drives the point home how to figure angles out. So, the length, I could have 5, right, for my length. I could have 100, I could have 1,000,000, I could have ½ inch, right? But my angle has got to be 120, my degrees, right? So let's draw that. So go to the line command. This is where we want to start, right here, correct? Take your hand off the cursor, go shift at, say 5, shift less than, see it kicked me into that other box, that's what that less than does. It separates the length from the degrees, 120, and hit enter. And it shoots a line up there. Okay? Now, what's this angle going to be coming up here? What angle am I going to draw this one at? 60, because remember it's 0, 90. So we're going to go line from this point here now, shift at or shift less than 60. Right there. All we have to do now is to clean it up, don't we? So question for you now, how am I going to clean this area up right here? You could trim it, or I can use a what?
Hey, Mike, I'm still having a hard time on the shift at.
Okay, a lot of students do. Okay, so line, enter, pick that point, shift at, 5, shift less than. That's great. Oh, that's great. No. Okay. That's good. Then 120. Enter. There you go. Okay. See where that less than just separates the two.
Okay.
That's all it does. So how can I clean this up really easy here? I fill it with a radius of 0, right? Or I could use the trim command too. Okay, if I use trim, then I would want to pick this line, and this line here, and I'd have to get rid of that, and that, and that, and that, and that right there. And then I could erase and get rid of this line and that line right there. So I have the dovetail built just right like that. That make sense? Okay, TR for trim. Enter, pick this line here. Yes, enter. Now, what do you want to trim? Click that line and that line. So you got to get that down. That's a hard one to get down. That's the #1 command students have the most trouble with. Once you get it down, it makes sense. Now these, you're just erasing these lines here. So E, enter for erase. Now you don't, so do how you do it again. So you hit E. Now look, E is for erase. Hit enter. You don't have to click it here also. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you're double clicking, aren't you? Now hit enter. Now let's get rid of this line. So hit the space bar. Enter. Now TR for trim. That's right, trim. TR, enter. Take this line here, this line here. That's your trim line, right? That's where you want to trim it to, right? Enter, enter, enter. Now what do you want to trim? Enter. Now you want to erase that, so E, enter. Just E, enter. E, enter. Now pick that line. Enter. It's gone. So you'll be working through those commands, and you'll be very proficient in that very soon. Okay? Okay. So you're going to draw a line at this point here, right? I can hit that. 5, shift less than 120. Enter. That's your angle. See, at length less than degree. Now this is a 60. So end of line command. So L, enter. Enter. Take this as your base point. Now go at 5, shift less than 60. Enter. All we're doing. That makes sense? Okay. Are you with that? So whenever I say the act command, you know what I'm talking about now? And so you can superimpose that to figure out any angle. Just remember about alternate interior, alternate exterior angles. As long as you have two parallel lines. Okay? Okay. So now we have to draw this dovetail in our other views. And so my dovetail now, my right side view is coming over to here, right? And I could trim that up if I wanted to by clicking these two here, getting rid of that line and that line right there. But what type of a line is this going to be? It's going to be an invisible line, isn't it? It's going to be hidden. I'm not going to see it. But remember, we made a hidden line layer, didn't we? So how can I change that to a hidden line layer?
Properties.
Click on it, right click and go to properties right there, right? And instead of the object layer, put it on the hidden layer. Right like that. Okay? Now we got to get these lines here. These two edges here now are going to be lines up in the top view, aren't they? Again, I've got to finish my feature in all three views, all the views before I move on to the next feature. So all I'm going to do is draw me a line from here up to here. Okay, now how did I do that so fast? Let me go back and do that. Okay, now watch. I've got to bring these lines from this point, this point, this point, and this point up, right? So question, watch me. Did you hear me do that? I'm just hitting the space bar twice to repeat the command. Now, how can I get those lines up to that top line? I can what to them? Extend. And what do you think the command is then? Extend. Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm trying to get at is that all the commands in Auto, well, not all, not 100% of them, but most of them, if you just talk and tell someone what you want them to do, is the name of the command. Now, just like when we trimmed, we picked our trim line, didn't we? When we extend, you want to pick the line you want to extend them to first. So I want to extend all these to this line right here, right? And then hit enter, and then I can build a window around those, and they are all extended up, right, like that. Now, I want everyone to watch this because this is a critical thing. And once you understand a couple of these really basic things, it'll make sense. So I go to EX to extend. I'm going to pick this line here first. Enter. Now, if I go from here, what do I have to do right here to get rid of these? Trim them. So TR, enter, pick this line here. Now, enter. Now, do I have to individually pick each one of these? Draw a window right there. Okay? Now, if you want to pick them individually, you can. But if you're looking to save some time, build a window around and get them all trimmed Does that make sense? But now what do that make sense? Are you with me there? So my dovetail is now all finished, isn't it? 100% finished. What? Well, the whole, but our dovetail, the actual dovetail. And that's what a dovetail looks like. You've seen dovetail drawers that have that little shape and to have your fingers for a dovetail drawer, okay? It's a dovetail slide. A lot of miter gauges on equipment have that little V in it. What's the advantage of the V versus the rectangular V, rectangular shape? Well, it'll fall out. But if you put it in a dovetail, it won't fall out if you have it sticking way out past the table here. That's the advantage of it. So, not all table saws have a dovetail, not all machines have a dovetail. Some of them are just straight.
You might, we go over extending this more.
Okay, so EX for extend. And now, where do you want to extend them to? Pick that line. It's enter. Now, where do you want to extend to that line? That's right. Click. So it's just like trim. You pick where do you want to trim it to first, and then what do you want to trim off? So it's the same concept, really. Those two commands hang students up because it just seems like you should pick what you want to trim first or extend first, but it's not. It's where you want it to go to or stop.
So pick a reference and then.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's where most students have their hang up the first couple of weeks of class in AutoCAD, those two commands right there. Okay? Now, what view is going to show my hole, true size and shape? The top view. How am I going to find my local center point for that hole? How far from here over does it come? How far from here up does it come? Okay, now when I locate that with dimensions, am I getting dimension from this side to the center point or this side to the center? Dimensioning. I shouldn't say never have a problem, but your problems will be greatly eliminated. Okay, so I'm going to offset 2.25, right? From here over, base bar, then 0.87, right? From here up. So there's my center point right there for my circle, right? Now, is this circle a radius or a diameter? Diameter. Now, let me ask you a question. If you just see the name drill, is that going to be a radius or a diameter? Okay. Drills. Someone said diameter. Why a diameter? It's a drill bit. When you go down to buy a drill bit, do you buy a drill bit with the radius of it or the diameter of it? Does that make sense? So, what point I'm trying to get is that going to be a radius or a diameter? Good question. Radius or diameter?
Diameter, right? The reamer, reamer's the cone shape.
Diameter. Why do we ream something out?
To get it to the right size, if you get all the, snagglies off.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If you want to bore or drill a 1-inch hole through the to be a smooth hole. So what you would do is you would drill with a smaller drill bit, then get a reamer, a smaller drill bit, take out like 98% of the material. Then you'd get a reamer that exact size, and she's taking a small amount of material off, and you'll get a lot smoother surface, right? Does that make sense? So when I say ream something, that's what it means. They're drilling it and removing most of the material, and then they're just coming in with a reamer, or a lot of times just another drill bit. But the drill bit only has to take off a small amount of material to clean it up, and it's a lot smoother finish when it drills it. Does that make sense? Okay. Bore, diameter, radius.
Diameter.
Diameter. Do all these mean basically the same thing? We're drilling a hole, right? And so it's always going to mean a diameter. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, with the ream, I'm going to get a lot smoother surface, right? That makes sense? So, okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to drill a 1-inch hit the down arrow key. There's a lot of different ways to draw circles. Okay? Now, let me ask everyone a question. Have you ever been in an advanced math class and they asked you to do something like this? Draw the largest possible circle you can get in that shape and tell me what the radius and the coordinates are from this point right here. You ever had a problem like that? Mathematically, you can do it. But would it take a long time? Let me show you how fast it is in CAD. I'm going to, out here now, I'm going to draw a rectangle, a triangle. Okay, hit F8. Okay, what shape do you want? Do you want the XY coordinates of the largest possible circle of that would fit in that triangle? The largest circle. It can't extend beyond it, and it has to go at least up to my lines, right? Be the possible largest, right? So what I'd do is I'd come over here to the circle command, and I'd hit 10, 10, 10. I'd click this line, and that line. There's your largest circle possible right there. Now, what's my diameter of that? What's the area of that? What's the circumference? All you have to do is type in list and pick that whole circle right there. And guess what? There's your center point for it. There's your radius. There's your circumference. And there's your area of that circle right there. A little quicker? So, question for you. How many of you love trig? How many of you would love trig if you could do it very simply? What do they tell you to do in math? They tell you to draw a sketch of it, right? Well, guess what in CAD you can do? My sketch is an exact drawing. You can dimension in degrees, minutes, and seconds in CAD. You can find any angle you want. Pretty simple, isn't it? But that's what CAD is. So when you do it, they have a lot of CAD packages, or not CAD, I'm sorry, math CAD packages out there to figure all your math formulas for you. Okay? Now, I'm gonna do one thing. This is a hit on math teachers. Okay, when you go to school and take all these math classes, and you go to take your final, what do? Do they make you memorize all these formulas? Let me ask you a simple question. If you're out there bidding on $1 million project, are you going to try to remember those formulas to put it to figure your calculations and bid out, or are you going to use a mathematical way of doing it? A computer way of doing it. A computer way of doing it, right? So you use like MathCAD, right? And you have the exact number, and it's documented, right? You see what I said? When I did my trig class, I told the instructor, I said, it's really to memorize these. And she said, if you can figure it out, I don't care how you get to the answer. I said, fine. Guess how I did my trig class. I mean, I can go back and work them now, you know. But if you draw a picture, just draw the scale picture. IR, you know, you don't even have to do that anymore. It's figured for you automatically. Okay? Okay, now, sorry about the sidetrack, okay?
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
you don't have to go to Canada.
So what?
You have to leave the AutoCAD.
Yeah, I need to. I know. I've just got to get over there today. I have to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to go center diameter right there. See center diameter? You click that, there's your center point right there. Just type in 1, enter, there's your circle, right there. Pretty easy, isn't it? Okay, now I want you to erase these two lines right here. So your drawing is 100% drawn right now. No, it's not. What do I have to do? I got to draw that hole in the other two views. So what I have to do now is I'm going to draw lines now from this point here. How do I get this to be a straight line? F8, right? You see what I just did? I just kind of went around from the top to the right side view with the These are the different object snaps. Do you have quadrant checked? Check quadrant. That's why you couldn't get it. So these are the different things you can snap to. There's your tangent point. Here's perpendicular, endpoint, midpoint, center, nearest, somewhere nearest right there. Those are some very common ones that you'll be using. Does that work better for you now? We good there? Okay, now, we have to do some trimming, don't we? So I'm going to trim. I'm going to pick there, and there. And I'm going to clean all those up, and I'm going to clean those and those. And just erase those. Do you see how once you get to that rectangle, you can fit multiple lines together, can't you? As you go from there. Okay. Now, these 4 lines here have to be what type of lines? So, they pick them there, right-click, Properties, make them hidden.
Yeah, you can just go to the layer selection up at the top.
Yes, you can. You can. I'm trying to get you to know how, because this has some extra things you can do. So you can do a shortcut if you're doing here, but I want you to know where that property is, because when we dimension, there's some things you can change into. Have to put a center line here, a center line here, and a center line here. That's the hard part. Okay? Now, let me show you about a center line. Now, we're going to make it so that you never ever have to create a center line again after today. I'm not going to teach you the shortcut today. So we're going to recreate it on Wednesday, seeing if you can remember these few numbers. The standard for a hole is if you have a circle here, a center line comes down like this here, right like that. That's what a center line looks like, okay? This line comes beyond the circle here, 1/4 of an inch, okay? That makes sense to everybody? The center lines extend beyond the circle 1/4 of an inch, all the way around. This dash here now, this length here now, how long do you think that should be? 1/8 of an inch. That makes sense to everybody? What do you think this gap should be right here? 1/16 of an inch. That's how you make a textbook center line. 1/4 of an inch beyond the circle, an 1/8 inch dash in the center with a 1/16 gap. How do we get all that now? The problem with center lines, remember when we did our layers, what kind of line type did I tell you to draw a center line in? Continuous, didn't I? We wanted it continuous, we're going to break it up. Now, on Wednesday, I'm going to show you how we can create one center line, and we can use that. You can use that center line on any diameter hole you want. Just have to tweak it just slightly, one measurement. Okay? So, first of all, we're going to draw it in our front view here. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. So how far do we go beyond here? How far does our center line come out here? So how can I get that distance? Offset 1/4. Okay, so that's where my lines go to, right there. Now, how do I draw these lines from here to here? Draw a line from the quadrant point to quadrant point, right here, right? That make sense? See what I just did? Offset it and just drew lines from quadrant points, right? Okay, now, I have to erase that outer circle now, right? Because all this was a reference to get the 1/4 of an inch out on all the sides, right? Okay, now, what do I have to do in here? I got to get an 1/8 inch dash with a 1/16 inch gap, right? So, what circle could I draw then?
Circle with diameter 1/8 inch.
Exactly. So let's go circle, center diameter, pick this
Offset by 16.
offset by 16th. What's a 16th in decimal format?
0.062.
0.0625, or if you don't know that, let me show you a shortcut. Let's go to offset. That's for an offset distance. So 1/1/6. Is that easy enough? You can do it either way. That's what I'm trying to say. Hit enter, pick this line, come out. Now, how am I going to get this gap right here? Trim between these two circles, right? Pick this circle and this circle here, and trim this out between here. And then erase those two circles. And guess what? You have a perfect center line.
What were the two smaller circles?
1/8 diameter, then I offset that 1/16 of an inch. Does that make sense now? But all those lines need to be on what layer? The center line layer, don't they? So I'm just going to pick a window about right there. Look, I got them all right there. Right click, properties, center. Right there. Okay? Now I say that's a textbook center line. Now I can guarantee you that CAD packages will not give you a center line that looks like that. They just don't. Okay? So all I did was from this 1 inch, I offset 1/4 of an inch. Then I drew a line quadrant to quadrant, quadrant to quadrant. That's all I did. I drew a 1/8 diameter circle here, then offset it a 16th to get that right there, and then trim between my two circles. That's all I did. Now on Wednesday, I'm going to show you how to save this center line. So we'll create another center line on Wednesday. Put a center line right here and a center line right here. Okay? And then our drawing will be 100% drawn. So I want to have these vertical lines right here copied so that that center point right there is in the exact center point of that little rectangle right there. So how am I going to find the midpoint of that rectangle? The exact midpoint crisscross. Or I don't have to double crisscross it. How many lines do I need to find the midpoint? I can just draw one line and find the midpoint, don't I? So what I could do is I could draw me a line now from that point to that point. So where's the exact center point of this rectangle now? The midpoint of that line right there, isn't it? That makes sense? So right there, doesn't it? So I'm going to copy. What's the shortcut for copy then? CO, right? I'm going to copy this line, and that line. Enter. That's for my base point. My base point is going to midpoint. Type in what? Mid. M-I-D. So I can override it right there and say I get that triangle right there. There. So that center line now is copied exactly to the center point. Then I'll erase this line here. Now, a question for everybody. How far does this center line extend beyond my object line here?
Half an inch.
Be careful now. How far should it extend? It does a 1/2 inch right now, basically.
Right. Has to be quarter.
1/4 of an inch. How do I find that distance then?
Offset.
Offset these lines 1/4 of an inch, right? Now I know where to trim it off to. So now I'll pick those 2 lines there. And then I will erase that line and that line right there. And I have a perfect center line right there. Copy it now. You're right, but how am I going to copy it?
Draw another reference line for your midpoint.
Let me ask you a question. This point here is equivalent to this point here, right?
Oh,
Couldn't I copy this? But where'd my base point be here now? Right there to right here. And I copied it over and I'm finished. You see what CAD is for now? Once you draw one thing, don't redraw it again. Copy it, manipulate it around. So copy. I'm going to copy these 3 lines here, enter. I'm going to use this. I could use this point here. And now your drawing is finished. Okay? Okay, now, just to get everyone, let's see, we have till 12:20, right? So we have about 12 minutes. Okay, I think we can do it. Yeah. We're just going to print this. I want to make sure everyone can print today. We'll dimension, because I don't want you to get off on a bad foot on dimension and have you do it wrong to begin with on your spacing. So we're going to print this off. So our assignment now is to have this printed off. I'm going to pick these 2 boxes there, making sure ortho's on. I might move all those over there, hit F8, bring that grouping up there. Then I might move these here, making sure F8 is back on, and move those up there. See how I spread those apart a little bit? Now, do I need this in my drawing now? All that was is a drawing tool, drawing aid for me, wasn't it? So let's get rid of it. Right like that. So that's your drawing right there. Now, let's see what it looks on your template, like on your template. Hit 11 by 17 right here. Okay, can't see it, can you? Now, let me show you how to find it. I'm in paper mode right now, aren't I? With paper mode, what happens to my title block? My title block zooms in and out, right? Now, if I click on that and go to model space, what happens? My drawing zooms in and out, right? Not my paper, not my title block. Now, what scale do I want this drawn at? 1-to-1 or just anything that I think looks good? Most likely 1-to-1. How do I get this to be 1-to-1? You see right here, right now my scale is 0.558699. That little down arrow key right there, if you click that down arrow key right there, hit 1-to-1. Now, as I move this down here now, I'm still 1-to-1, right? But get out of the model as fast as you can. Because if you scroll that button, you're going to change your scale factor. See, now you can scroll, but my scale is still 1-to-1, right? Now, according to this, I probably need to move my top view down just a little bit, right? So I'm going to go back to this model here now, and I'm going to move this view down here just a little bit. So let's move this view here down maybe to there and go back to the 11/17. That looks pretty centered there, doesn't it now? That make sense? Now, let me show you where that fat line comes into play. Now I see my line weight. Now my object line should be fatter than my center line, right? And it is, isn't it? So this actually shows you that makes sense?
Mike, I'm not finding the scale.
Are you in model? You got to be in model over here. Yeah, now you can see. And now you're 1-to-1. Now get out of that because if you scroll, it's going to change the scale. So go back to right there. Now, okay. So, paper. See right now. There. Now we've got to get out of that. See, now you can scroll in and out. Let's move things. Go back here now, and we're going to move maybe all this right here. Maybe let's hit F8. Because we're moving everything, right? Down, let's go back here now. That's a pretty good position right there. And now we've got something. Let's go back over here now. Now we're going to move. Yeah, we can move everything over just a little bit, right? So we can go over here, we can move, and maybe come over something like that. Let's go back and look at it. Now we can move it all down this way. So let's move. Does that make sense? Yeah. But if you change that scroll button, it's going to Okay, now for printing. This is what I want to make sure everyone can do today, okay? Whenever you turn a drawing in, I want your name. But for right now, we're going to have you put your name in it and the drawing name in it, and then we're going to print it out, and you're going to turn this in for today, okay? So we want your name to be here and the dovetail slide right here, okay? So what I want you to do is type in D text, just D-T-E-X-T. Does that make sense? D text. Everyone see that? So do that and hit enter. That's going to ask you for a start point. Pick a point up here somewhere. Leave it at 0. Hit enter. Start typing your name in capital letters. Hit the enter key and then type in Dovetail.
Also in capital?
Yes. And hit the enter twice. Everything we do will be in capital. Should have changed this to object, you know. I mean to text. But we can do it that way, right, like that if we want to. See, that was the shortcut way, so you didn't have to go to properties. Pick it and go to that drop down and find, and you can change your layers that way too. Okay? Now we're going to move your name here. I'm going to pick a point clear up here, hit F8. So move in, kind of in position here, space bar here, pick a point here, and put him right there. Okay?
Wait, what was that again?
I just moved your name into the top one. I picked a point to stay away from my snap points, my possible snap points on my title block.
The printers of, yours goes above, the title block, mine goes underneath.
So what now?
My name goes underneath.
Here? Yeah, I just wanted in this location here.
I know, mine goes underneath it,
So this is your name here, right?
like a layer. My name is underneath that.
Are you? It's in model, it'll look like it's going underneath it, Kurt. So you got to be in that right one there. Yes. Thanks for bringing that up, by the way. All you do is change from paper to model is right there. Paper, model, paper, model. That's how you jump back and forth. Be in paper space when you put your name on it. Okay? Last thing, this will let me know if everyone can print and everyone has your template right and everything else to know if you have problems, because every drawing you turn in has got to be turned in this format. Okay? Way everyone is consistent with each other in the classroom. From day one, can print a title block from their drawing, and we can start off fresh. Okay? Okay, can I do it now?
Are you actually using a move command on that?
Yes, yes, yes. Now sometimes you might have to turn your ortho off to move that down in there, Kurt, to get it kind of centered where you want it. Okay? So, but you can see how I use my colors right here. Now, if everything was green, you say, well, I didn't get everything on the right layer, because I know I've got hidden lines and center lines, right? So that's how you can use your colors. Okay, so to print, all you do is this. Go to the big A right here. Go down to print right here. And just hit OK right here. Okay, you should have this window up right here. We have to define your printer first. So right here it says none, right? Hit the down arrow key. Okay. Everyone in here on all of your work with no exceptions. Everyone hear that? Everybody is going to print to the 712 printer. Do I hear that? The 712. You see 712 right there? Now, if you do not see this printer, all you have to do is to make sure your work is saved, log off, log back in, and 99% of the time it'll show back up for you. Sometimes the printer drivers over the internet shut down automatically. So if you don't have it, don't get frustrated or upset. Just make sure your work is saved, turn machine off, turn it back on, and it should be there for you. Everybody understand that okay? Okay, so what we're going to do is hit 712 right there. Make sure your paper size now is 11 by 17. Okay? Make sure you have centered the plot. Hit preview. That's what you're physically going to get on your print right there. Now, if you see some lines missing, don't print it out. Let's fix the lines. And usually what happens is you accidentally turned them off in layers. Because there's a little box, and if you check on the wrong side of that box, it'll say, don't print this layer. And you just have to uncheck and go back and your lines show up. That's all it is. That's all it is. Okay, and then all you have to do is see up here where it says print, plot, this one says plot, click there, and it's printed. That's all there is to it.
Printer's out of paper.
And I'll load the paper up if I have to. Okay. Okay. Now, give me 1 second. I gotta run back and get another range just next door here.
Hey, did you show me how to do the name correctly?
Yeah.
So, hold on. I'll show you.
Probably whole bunch is written now.
Yeah, this is about 12. There's a. I can't say one way is. Yes, you bet, you bet. Right now, there's one right here. Okay, it's type in layer. Okay, now right here. See, you turned all these layers off. See that? That's like on. Okay, now, come over here now, here. Remember, I said, increase before you turn it down. You go to File, Print. You know, like with the print, 712 right there. Okay. Now, the menu now, yeah, looks like, it should be the line weight right now. You're right. That make sense?
And it's a simple thing on the text, and so you can like glaciating.
That's how you explain it to this kid right now.
It's like pouring like post footage and, tying construction lines, tying intersects.
Yeah.
And then you set your post and just try to get it square that and plumb it up like that. And that's what you ballpark it, right? Okay, and then I was thinking, I have some little plan I want to draw up, but I would like to do this shit, but that's what I did. I'm with you. Yeah, getting out of there is my head. Getting my, getting out there. Once the framing starts, like, but I'd like to figure it out, like, this is not, you've gone here, I've seen stuff where they just notice it.
My next class.
Hey, Mike, can you help me with the printing real quick?
So, you can print, right? Okay, good, so, okay, so print, hit okay. Okay, this down here, that was 712. Hit preview. Okay, so, hit escape. Okay, now, remember I said sometimes. See all these check marks right here? You said that's the plug. Just like legacy, you see a little red with the line, stay off legacy, right? Semi, right? So let's get rid of these right here. Dimension, standard, hidden. Now, go back to
Just stay away, so. This is not gonna get you all this. Yeah, it's not
That's all you get.
That makes it, oh, excuse me. In Denmark, they have blue beads that were made.
Industry, I haven't had
And, you know, a triangle, they just get this line number. Those old students.
Did you get printed okay?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, type in D10.
Look at her. I seem like a staring at him. I thought
And if you draw that, for this case, you have to draw it in paper. You probably do it everywhere. Model. Because you need that, you draw it, this has to be in